Hey, it's Nay. And welcome back to Nay's Little Garden and Home. So, we're here to talk about fruits today. And I'm gonna try to show you, or at least tell you, about how it is in fact possible to grow fruits in a small garden, and depending on the fruits, even on a deck or a balcony. So grab you a drink, grab you a snack, maybe a notebook and pencil, and let's hop, skip, jump right into it. A lot of people do feel as if you need a lot of property in order to grow things like fruits. That's false. There are some fruits that are easier, and there are some different methods to use in different varieties that are going to make that true. So we're going to start off with what would be, in my opinion, the easiest thing to grow, which I have three categories. I have here for you: plants, bushes / plugs, and then trees. So we're going to start with the plants, which would be one of the most popular plants that is possible to grow in cooler climates is strawberries. Strawberries are plants that will net you strawberries a few times over a few years before you will need to replace them. At some point, supposedly strawberries do stop growing you strawberries, or they just don't grow you much, and because they get tired, and you will need to then have new strawberry plants. What's really cool about strawberry plants, they have one of the easiest methods in order to reproduce. The strawberry plants send out a thing called runners. And all that is a vine that will jump out of the strawberry to try to attach to any soil around it. And once it builds its own roots, that becomes a new strawberry plant. I think that there are, for the most part, most varieties of strawberries do this, although there are a few that do not. The runners do take energy from the original strawberry plant. So oftentimes when people don't need any runners that year, they will snip that off so that it doesn't take up energy, so it can grow strawberries. There are a good amount of a few, for sure, different varieties of strawberries, from like super small to really big. Like alpine strawberries are typically more like wild strawberries. They're like smaller, but they have a little bit more of a concentrated flavor, but they are significantly smaller. Then you can have like the regular size, small strawberries that you typically see for organic strawberries that you get in the grocery store. And then you have like the big whoppers where you're like, what on earth is going on? There's like 3 bites in this one strawberry. Within all of that, you have 2 categories of strawberries. You have the June bearing, and then you have the ever bearing. The June bearing, I would recommend for people who want to can or need a high amount of it in one go and don't need no more, again, for the most part. June bearing is kind of what it says. For the most part, they'll put on for the month of like June or whatever, as your temperatures warm up, and then they're going to put on basically all, if not most, of the strawberries in that one setting, and then you really don't get much, maybe like a couple here or there. And for me, like I said, that's for like canning people. Those are people who really don't eat strawberries like that, except for in a concentrated time frame. So maybe you want to do a month of just strawberries, or a month, and then you do a month of like another fruit and another fruit and another fruit, right? That is what June bearing is for. I would recommend for most people ever bearing strawberries. Ever bearing strawberries will give you less strawberries at a time, but keep doing it over and over and over again, right? That's why it's called everbearing, until it gets too cold for them. So right now, I think most of my strawberries are everbearing. I have this year started my own strawberries from seed. From an organic strawberry I've gotten from the grocery store in the little tins, I took one and we shaved them off. I have the video of me starting them, and they are actually growing. I've been growing them for a hot minute now. I want you to know that, I want to say February maybe, if you're going to try to do this, which is going to save you the most money, strawberries will be the cheapest thing you could typically grow from the fruits I'm going to be discussing with you today, and yield you faster results. strawberries are the fastest fruits typically that you're going to get. I think that strawberries are very beginner friendly. You can get a bunch of strawberry plants for a pretty reasonable price. Well, two things. You can just go to the big box stores or your local greenhouse, and they're probably going to have strawberry plants already for you. And they've already, a lot of them even put it in the pot that you can leave it in. So you don't even have to really do anything. Then you can go online, which would be the best bet, right? So you can start from seed, which if you know what you're doing or you want to do that, and you have time to burn, you can do that. Or you can buy from the greenhouse, or you can go ahead and go online and get like 10 to 25 strawberry plugs, or bare root strawberries, which means that you're going to see the roots because it's out of soil, and they're going to send you like 25 of them for like $12, and you are going to have to put those roots in water for about 30 minutes or so, and then you plant them out, and within a few weeks you're going to start seeing them grow. That is probably, outside of obviously starting something from seed, right, going to be your best bet, because you're going to know exactly what it is you're growing. Like, for example, the ones I started growing, I don't know if they're ever bearing, I don't know if they're June bearing. I know what the strawberry is going to look like, because obviously that's what I purchased, but I don't know. I don't even know if they're going to survive in my climate, because I'm not sure where they harvested them from, if they can even take a frost. This is something that if I want to give it a highest chance, I'm going to have to plant it in my polytunnel and hope that the cold I get is not too cold for it, right? So that's kind of like the purpose of getting the plugs or the bare root, because you can see the exact variety. The websites are going to tell you if it'll still come back in your zone, like all the good things. And getting strawberries from your garden is an experience. It's something that you are going to taste, and a lot of the strawberries you can buy in the grocery store are like water strawberries. You get what I'm saying? So sometimes I get the Honest juice from my kids. We don't drink insane amounts of juice here unless I'm juicing. And you're like, oh, they kind of just apple over the top of it because it tastes mostly like water. That's kind of what the strawberries in a lot of grocery stores taste like nowadays, for the most part, or enough times, versus the strawberries you grow in your garden or get at like a farmer's market are going to be sweet. Yes, they're going to still hold the tanginess, but they're going to be sweet, and that's very awesome. I'm going to be honest with you. Now, the realities of growing strawberry in your garden. You are going to need a good amount to get any real ROI of your planting, right? So 25 sounds like a lot. When you have 3 little gremlins that live in your home, okay, that is not enough, and it doesn't yield fast enough to really make a massive or even a medium change. I think if it's a fit, so it really depends on how much strawberries you eat, but I also enjoy strawberries. So I could, myself, finish off a little tin of strawberries in about 2 to 3 days by myself. My kids can finish off a tin in one sitting on a bad day. On a good day, they can done off 2. You get what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where for children who actually like fruits, you probably need about 25 per child. Now I don't want you to start getting overwhelmed, because like I said, the runners is where you're going to start saving a lot of money. So you might plant 25 and then snip off just 1 runner per plug. And now next year you'll have 50. And if you do that every year, where you let 1 runner do its thing and then cut off the rest, within 3 years, you're gonna have 4 years, gonna have like 100, right? And then your old ones will have started dying off. You could pull those, right? So that's something that you might not ever have to buy strawberries again. And you know the variety, you know how it does so and so. And because it's been growing in your season, your growing zone, in your soil that you've given it, it has acclimated even better to the environment, which may be even better for you, right? So, and then they do suggest you cover strawberry plants with like hay or wood chips at the end of when you're going into your cold zone, just to protect them. I still have not yet to really do that. which is why not all of my strawberry plants come back every year, but many of them still do. So you can see how resilient strawberries are, the plants. The next would be the bushes / plugs. So that's like blackberries, raspberries, blueberries, rhubarb. I haven't really messed with rhubarb too much. I don't really want anything yet in my garden where I have to remember certain things can cause a lot of problems if I put it in my mouth, or my kids accidentally put it in their mouth, because part of rhubarb is poisonous. But I have blueberries and blackberries in my garden. And raspberries is about similar to blackberries. Or do I have raspberries? Regardless, they come back year after year. Something like a blueberry bush might last your family a generation. So my uncle has a blueberry bush, and my entire childhood, every summer, we were eating the blueberries off of his bush. So they will, some of them might not last, they might last 5 years, but there's definitely varieties that will keep coming back over and over and over again. And the difference, I feel like, between strawberries and the blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, and rhubarb is strawberries can be put into small plots. Like, so you can get yourself a green stalk, right? And there's 30 pockets, and you can plant 1 strawberry per pocket, and that's all the soil those strawberries are gonna need. And now they have this cute little strawberry pocket thing that you can attach to your pockets to let a runner start growing, and then you could snip it and be able to plant those out. Like, strawberries can grow in such a small amount of space. The blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, and rhubarb do need a bigger plot piece, right? Whether it's a pot. So I have my blackberries, I feel like it's blackberries, growing in the half a wine barrel, the fake half a wine barrels. So it's not a real one, but you just get like a big box store. And I planted 2 per thing in there. She's coming back to life. So I got 4, 2 of them survived. The other one, I don't think I put a big enough holes in the actual pot, so it got waterlogged, which is unfortunate. So it wasn't the actual plug's fault, it was mine, user error. But the other 2 already have green leaves, not like, oh, it's starting to come back. It started coming back like 3 weeks ago to life, and I'm gonna get something. Now, when it comes to something like a blackberry, there's like Floricane and the other one. So one is that year, those canes that come up, because they grew up like a bush type of thing, so they stick out, sticks grow out of it, and then they flower up, and then they whatever. So you have one where each year you got to cut it down at the end of the season, so it'll grow new vines, new branches to grow again. And then you have ones that do it the second year, so it's gonna put out branches and do nothing that first year. We'll put those branches out and some leaves, and then next year it'll come back, which is what I have, and supposedly it will grow you proper berries that next round. So this year I should get berries, and then I believe I have to cut them down and then let it grow. Next year I'll get nothing. The year after that I'll get it again. Now, what would be successful and most useful for something like that is, let's say you get 4 plugs. The smart thing, which I'm probably gonna do this year, I would buy another 2 blackberry bushes, so that my first 2 are putting on the blackberries this year. But then my new ones, I'll be growing their first years. So next year, the new ones will be putting on their blackberries, and the old ones will be growing their new fresh ones. You get it? So every year I'm still technically going to get blackberries. The pricing of these is also pretty reasonable depending on where you go. I got mine from M.A. Gardner. M.A. Gardner is just that's that big dog. Like, the pricing is great. For the most part, I've heard only good things about them. And for me personally, I've only really had very good experiences with the website. And Luke is the owner of M.I. Gardner. He has a YouTube channel you can watch, and he teaches you so much about gardening. I mean, this is just a regular man who has a family of his own, who started growing from a long time ago in a backyard, and now has managed and gotten successful enough to own a farm, to grow massive things. This is a man who takes gardening seriously, to the point where he is bringing back varieties that we thought we lost. And he's like, psych, I bought this 50-year-old box, opened up the box, there was 6 tomato seeds in there with the name on it. Out of the 6 from 50 years ago, 2 of them sprouted. Out of the 2, 1 actually yielded tomatoes. Yeah, and I saved those seeds. And now we have that tomato back in production. Yes, I'm being very serious. Sounds like a book, I know. It's real life, and that's amazing. So, yeah. You can get a bunch of different stuff from him, including blueberries as well. I think when it comes to like the blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, you don't need, I'm telling you, you don't need nearly as many of the plants as you would the strawberries, because a blueberry and a raspberry, like they're gonna get to a pretty decent size. So if you put 10 blueberry bushes in your home, in your property, you better sit down and eat a lot of blueberries, a lot, or they're gonna go to waste. And you are gonna have to protect these probably if you have any type of wildlife. Like birds are gonna yum up your strawberries. They might try to reach for your blueberries, but because the strawberries are red, that might bring them to it. Blueberries, I don't know. I take time, okay? That's all I gotta say. And the raspberries would go about that situation. Strawberries are gonna yield you the fastest. However, so for things like blackberries, raspberries, blueberries, they're going to be like middle of your season to end of your season. You're going to get harvest from them. And there is a chance you're going to get 1 to 2 harvests out of them, depending on how long your growing season is, right? And that is fabulous. I think and you'll get a lot. You'll get a good amount, I should say, right? Because they're gonna get a bush, and on the bush, there's gonna be maybe about 2 different harvest times on that one bush at one time. But I think that you could really do so good. So like the half a wine barrel, the fake half a wine barrels are only about like this big, guys. You could have 2 of them easy. And could I have left only 1 blackberry bush in there? Probably. I definitely overplanted in there because in there's also some strawberries. I'll probably try to dig up those strawberries and put them somewhere else after at least their first flush. I might even wait till fall to dig them up, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. But let's say you put 1 blueberry bush into something like that and 2 blackberry bushes. You quite literally could have just 2 of those wine barrels, and you'll do a decent amount of fruit, especially if it's just you adults. Like if there's the more people in your house, the more stuff you're going to need. But I do really feel like 2 to 3 blackberry / raspberry bushes and 2 to 3 blueberry bushes is going to net you a lot. Now they do cost a little more money for sure than a strawberry. Like 1 Patriot blueberry bush is like $20 or $15, right? So you're saying they're like, sheesh, right? Correct. But like I said, it's gonna grow bigger, and it's gonna last you typically more years, and just keep going on and on and on and on and on. Like there's somebody who has a raspberry bush, and every year they cut it down and it comes back every year. And I think they've been using that same bush for like 7 years already. So like, you know what I'm saying? That's not something you have to even concern yourself with, and you'll just have it great. One thing about those are you do want to try to keep it upright so it's not flopping on the ground, because then you'll Batman signal the bugs, right? So the next one, and arguably the most amazing one, would be trees. Now you're probably looking at me like, girl, I have 1/9 of an acre. What do you mean a tree? Walk with me. There are dwarf and semi-dwarf trees. I want you to think about it for a second. If you saw the video about when I talked about the tomatoes, it's like seeds. We have cultivated trees that are not going to be 20, 30, 40, 50 feet tall, and then like 5 feet wide. Like, you know what I mean? You got big honking trees. You got to climb the tree, scale it like Tarzan, and go and harvest those trees. And now you're calling forth bears and all these crazy stuff. Yeah, you have those type of trees, which I would not advise. And then you have the semi/completely dwarf trees. I have semi-dwarf trees. I have 2 peach trees and 2 apple trees. I am gardening on a little less than 1/8 of an acre. Yes, you heard me. Yes, yes, yes. Now, those trees are still going to need cultivation, trimming, right? So when the season ends, you're going to trim a tree and, you know, just to shape it, because you don't want all the branches growing into each other, because when they try to put on the fruits, you know, they can give issues. So you want to make sure they're branching out. You can keep it to a certain height. If you're like, I don't need this to go past 7 feet, yeah, go get you a little ladder or a little step stool. So in the fall, after you've harvested, you could go snipping and trimming and doing what you got to do, so that next year, over the winter, it's resting. You know, give her some time to rest. And then when it starts warming up, it's game time. The thing about the trees are they take the longest before you start netting yourself anything, like at all, for the most part, right? You can get your tree as like a bare root tree type of vibe. Well, kind of. Like it comes in like just a little bit of soil, like a very small bag of soil, plant it out. You are not going to get anything that year. You can also get yourself the trees that are in a bigger pot, and they might even already have flowers or even fruit on it. Now, people will scare you from getting those type of plants. I am not going to tell you they're telling false information. I have only been gardening for about 4 years. However, I can tell you you're still going to get fruit from those type of trees. I have about 2 trees that I got in the proper manner, which is like more bare. So you plant it in, and they have not netted me anything yet. The trees that netted me something were the ones I got in the pot. And I've harvested like, well, I don't know, 10, 12 peaches off of that tree last year. And what's really cool about trees, yes, you're going to have to wait a couple years. On average, about 2 to 3 years before you start netting stuff. But once you start netting fruit and you keep taking care of that tree, you're going to be netting fruit. I'm not trying to be cute. I mean, I'm being so for real right now. So there are plants, trees that you will see and they'll be like, oh, this is self-pollinated. However, if you add a second tree, the pollination is going to be significantly better. So I recommend 2 of any type of tree you're trying to buy. And then you're going to net you some decent stuff. And you only really need to put these semi-dwarf to dwarf trees about 7 to 10 feet apart. People are going to tell you farther, and the farther you can put them, sure, like away from other things, sure, they're going to be able to get bigger. But if you want to keep it smaller anyway, 5 to 7 feet is just fine. I have my peach trees looking at each other. So I have one peach tree over here, and then about 11 feet from it is the other peach tree. And then my apple trees are definitely closer. My apple trees are about 6, 7. My apple trees are about 6, 7 to 8 feet apart from each other. And my thing is, like, you're going to look at it and be like, this little 5-foot tree, this little 6-foot tree is not going to give me a lot. Guys, like I said, that peach tree gave me 10 peaches. And I pruned off some of the peaches because the tree is still, the trunk is still very small and still growing. So you don't want to weigh it down too much in the beginning. But it was really like 25 to 35 peaches on that tree. And as your tree grows over the years, right, this is something that's going to keep netting you trees, guys. Trees. This is going to keep netting you fruit. It's going to get bigger and bigger and be able to hold more. So then you'll end up with something, right, like a bushel of apples per tray at some point. And when you sit there and you do, I can't really describe a bushel to you. If you go apple picking, the bag they give you is like about a bushel, I think. And it's a lot. It's a lot of apples. So we did that last year with the boys. First of all, it was scorching outside. It was scorching outside. Yeah. Anyway, we got so many apples. I actively kept using them in different things. Like the kids would eat them. I'd put them in, like, you put them in oats. You make apple pie. I was appling it up. I made the best apple butter ever. That was probably as a family, our favorite way to eat it. It is sweet, but I was putting that thing on everything, on toast, on everything. And I feel like I'm going to do it again. Not feel like I will be doing it again this year and just putting less sugar and seeing how that comes out. But applesauce, we all love applesauce, and my kids eat applesauce every single week for school as a snack. And so, being able to do my own applesauce would be cool, and see how it goes with freezing, right? Anyway, I'm saying all this to say, you get yourself just a couple of trees. You could have 1/12 of an acre and get you 2 trees. Let's say y'all eat apples, or if y'all eat peaches, or if you guys, whatever. And you can plant them in ground. Depending on your grow zone, you need to buy the trees that will come back on your grow zone. There are some produce and things that need cold temperatures at a certain time. Like, we need 200 cold hours, right? And then it'll come back. And there's some that are like, girl, if I touch a frost, right? Let's talk on something a little bit more difficult. Lemon and lime trees. You're probably sitting here like, girl, I don't live in a tropical area. I don't have a lemon tree yet. You can in fact get the small lemon trees, and you could move that into your home or in a garage or something in the colder months, and I've seen people keep them alive so that you're harvesting lemons. So like, for example, with my little grow tent, first of all, I would have to check that soil for bugs. I'm not gonna even hold you. I'm gonna probably have to spray some type of organic pesticide in the end of the season on it. I just can't. And I could put it in the grow tent and keep my light in there so it could keep getting light and be, guys, you can grow some type of lemons, possibly. It needs more work. You wouldn't be able to plant that in the ground. Slash the lime trees as well. And that could net you, guys, you really could be more self-sufficient than you think you could be. And also some things would just require more work, right? If you're in a zone like 6 to 7, we're still getting frost, right? But getting something like an actual greenhouse that will actually take in real sunlight and you could seal it up tight will literally net you quite a many degrees warmer in the beginning of the growth season and the end, and give you weeks in advance, like 3-4 weeks more growing in the beginning of the season and then the end. And that's like almost basically 2 or so months, like a month and a half to 2 months of more growing time, right? So if you know that your growing season, right, let's just say, so I'm in zone 6, so cool weather crops can go in the ground March, right? So let's say from March to October, I can grow something, whether cool weather crops or warm weather crops. I could possibly, if I had like a true good growing thing, put out my cooler crops in February. And then still extend like about 2 weeks, maybe, my warmer weather crops towards the end of the growth season, and still be harvesting, because my soil won't freeze as fast, cooler weather crops in November, right? So when you're sitting there really thinking about this, you're saying December and January is when I'm not growing stuff? And you could, I've seen people do it with the, the greenhouse or whatever, and then they put the roll covers over it, and so you're still growing like lettuce and spinach or whatever, certain things like that under those roll covers. So it's like a double insulation. That's gonna be a whole nother conversation for sure. That's a whole nother it'll get a whole separate video as well. But you can probably grow fruits if you have a much smaller space, like a deck or a balcony. You are gonna find yourself spending more money on a tree, because then you're gonna need like an actual dwarf tree that's like, I've seen lemon trees that are like 4 feet, 3 feet tall, and you just put a little pot. You're gonna net yourself what? I don't even know, 5 to 10 lemons, and that's kind of about it. But that's still gonna net you something. At that point, the better of the bets, in my opinion, would be a few strawberry plants that are like, let's just say you could do like the barrel, and you could put like 10 in there. I would do half of them be the ever bearing, half of them being the June bearing, so you can get an okay amount at one flush, and then you can get a few here or there just to add to like a salad or add to more other fruits. And then you can do a half of a fake wine barrel of like 2 blueberry or raspberry or blackberry bushes and stuff like that, and grow those, and you're going to be netting you a decent amount of fruits. You'll see the difference, right? That there will be some type of difference, and it will taste different too. The stuff is, and you have more variety options immediately accessible to you versus whatever is just left, what's in your grocery store. And that's the cool thing about trees too, is whatever kind of fruit tree, like just apples, there's like 10 different type of apple trees I can go on right now on Stark Bros and be able to pick that will work in my zone. The peach trees are the same. I think there was like 6 or 7 that I could pick from to put in my, and I have them, and they did survive, right? So I would look into those type of things, but I really do think it's easier than you might think to grow fruits in your garden. Anyway, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. This is a whole new series I'm doing where I'm talking and trying to very much so shrink down to very specific parts in the garden about things you can do and how to go about it. And so it's going to be a lot of videos because there's a lot of different things you can do and a lot of different ways you can take it. Don't forget to hit that like button to show me and YouTube that you like this video. I hope to see you in my next one. Bye bye.